Hello, my name is Denis Halandzovskyi. Here is what actually happened over Poland and how NATO responded, stripped of spin and grounded in verified reporting. During a multi-hour Russian strike on Ukraine, a swarm of nearly 20 drones crossed into Polish airspace. Poland activated its air defense network, scrambled quick reaction fighters, coordinated with Allied jets, and shot down several targets. Debris searches and safety advisories followed across the east. Warsaw temporarily limited flights near the border, then moved fast on the diplomatic front. A request for NATO consultations under Article 4 and an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council to put timestamps, flight paths, and recovery sites on the record. The alliance publicly condemned the incursions as reckless and unacceptable and announced plans to reinforce the eastern flank, more aircraft forward, tighter airspace surveillance, and additional counter-UAS and ground-based air defense assets. If you find this useful, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. And thank you to all of Ukraine's partners for your continued help and support. Set aside the noise and look at the signal. This was the first known instance in the current war where a NATO member engaged and downed hostile drones over its own territory with Allied backing. In practice, that meant a live handoff between national and NATO command nodes, a layered air picture updated minute by minute, and rules of engagement applied in mixed civilian airspace, harder than it looks on social media. Politically, Poland framed the incursion not as an accident, but as a deliberate probe synchronized with a mass attack on Ukraine. That reading aligns with recent patterns: large strike windows, multi-vector routes, and attempts to exploit gray zones along NATO's frontier. The alliance response balanced clarity and restraint. No dramatic rhetoric, just visible moves and procedural discipline that reduce risk for civilians while denying Moscow the ambiguity it seeks. One more element matters for context. In the days that followed, a Russian drone also entered Romanian airspace and was tracked by that country's F-16s. Another reminder that spillover is a regional, not bilateral problem. European leaders called the violations aggressive and destabilizing, while Washington underscored that Allied territory will be defended. Inside Poland, leaders argued that downing threats inside national airspace changes the political calculus. Consultations with allies become not a gesture, but a requirement. In short, this was a real-world stress test of NATO's eastern defenses. It was met with a real-world answer: intercepts, coordination, and preparations to sustain a higher posture as needed. What did this incident reveal about vulnerabilities, and how are allies closing the gaps right now? Start with detection. Small, low-flying drones exploit terrain, weather, and saturation. No single sensor solves that. Density and fusion do. The fix is a mesh of 3D radars, passive RF detectors, EO, IR cameras, and airborne platforms that share tracks in real time, including handoffs from Ukrainian sensors to Polish and NATO nodes. Confidence-scored tracks speed up decisions and slash false alarms when the picture is crowded. Next, the decision clock. Intercepts near busy air routes must happen fast and safely. That demands crews on strip alert, pre-cleared kill boxes along the border, and friction-free cross-border coordination, so a fighter launching in one sector can prosecute a target about to cross into another. It also demands the right tool for each target. Not every inbound is worth a high-end missile. Short-range air defenses, jammers, directed energy where available, and lower-cost effectors must sit beside Patriots and modern SAMs to keep readiness sustainable over many nights. Then, the narrative fight. Within hours, some voices suggested the drones could have been a mistake. Poland rejected that framing, pointing to scale, timing, and synchronized routes. Why push back? Because casual talk of accidents invites more probes. A consistent message that Allied airspace is defended and violations will be met reduces risk for everyone, including civilians on the ground. This is where leadership language matters: calm, factual, and aligned across capitals. Finally, the alliance posture. NATO's immediate answer combined public condemnation with concrete steps to beef up the eastern flank. Expect more fighter rotations, more ground-based air defenses, more counter-UAS teams, and a tighter data backbone. The aim is deterrence through visible readiness, not escalation through theatrics. In parallel, the legal track at the UN records the evidence and raises costs for repeat violations. The broader European project, sanctions enforcement, export controls on drone components, and maritime pressure on the shadow fleet that funds the war keeps shrinking the resources Russia can throw at these campaigns. Put simply, fewer launches, fewer components, and a sharper air picture mean fewer dangerous nights along NATO's frontier. What happens next? And what should viewers watch for to separate facts from noise? First, the official readouts. Look for a clear sequence: NATO's consultations outcome, the UN session minutes, and Poland's own national briefings, including any National Security Council decisions on air defense posture, debris protocols, and support to local authorities. Second, deployments with dates, locations, and durations. Vague promises are cheap. Squadron rotations, air defense batteries, radar detachments, and counter-UAS teams with timelines are credible signals. Notices to airmen and temporary flight restrictions in eastern Poland and the Baltic region will quietly show how authorities read risk day by day. Third, Romania's follow-up. Monitoring across the Black Sea-Danube axis is a real indicator of how seriously allies are tightening the southern slice of the frontline air picture. Fourth, platform behavior. Expect more aggressive moderation of obvious misinformation around the incidents and more amplification of official safety guidance. Don't approach debris, report sightings, and follow local alerts. Fifth, procurement and industry. Sustained defense means ramping interceptor and sensor production in Europe and North America while squeezing the supply chains that feed Russia's drone war. A word on political temperature. High-profile commentary that downplays incursions is not just a domestic soundbite. It reverberates across Allied planning rooms. In contrast, a steady rules-first message from Washington, Brussels, Warsaw, and Bucharest tells both publics and adversaries the same thing. Democratic allies defend their borders, back each other, and support Ukraine so this war cannot spill further. That alignment is not rhetorical. It shows up in flight paths, basing orders, and procurement ledgers. Bottom line for viewers: Russian drones in Allied airspace are not a glitch. They are part of a broader campaign to pressure Ukraine and probe Europe. The right response is what you are seeing now: intercepts, consultations, deployments, legal documentation, and sustained support that cuts the attacker's capacity over time. Please subscribe and like to help more people find clear, verified updates. And thank you to all of Ukraine's partners for your steadfast support.